That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Normally for the Trade Talk section, I don't have the live comments up so it doesn't distract me and so they watch a little bit better. But since I know Zorro Fan Productions is here and he specifically requested that I review the thing I'm reviewing tonight, I'm going to leave that up for the time being. So I'm not going to respond to like everybody's comments during that, but if Zorro Fan Productions wants to interact a bit during it, that's totally fine because I'm interested to see what another Zorro fan thinks about my thoughts on Zorro, a novel by Isabel Allende. So yeah, again, I'm breaking the format of Trade Talk because normally I talk about trades and graphic novels, but don't you worry because I am going to roundabout talk about one. So this is a novel that came out in, I want to say, 2005, and it is a new origin for Zorro, Diego de la Vega. Now, for those that don't know, Zorro's got a rich and fascinating history, but the long and short of it is Diego de la Vega is a strapping young lad in Spanish California, and his father decides to send him back to the mother country, Spain, to get a proper education for a caballero. And he comes back and finds that California has been plunged into tyranny, and so does the noble thing and dons the mask and cape, raises the sword to fight for justice, to protect the innocent and the downtrodden, and to punish the oppressed. Zorro is, of course, the original social justice warrior. Now, that was an origin that had more or less been there since the very beginning. That's pretty much what you get in the original Mark of Zorro and stuff. And it's charming enough, but yeah, there is a definite need to go into more, I feel. And so this is where you get that. Isabel Allende, and I should say at the outset of this, I actually really don't like this novel that much. And I'll get into why, but there are things I love about it. So Isabel Allende, and I believe she is the one to come up with this idea wholeheartedly. She takes the origin of Zorro and turns it on its head a little bit. And so the first few chapters of this book are actually about how Zorro's parents meet, which is really, really interesting because Alejandro de la Vega is the, Don, the fairly wealthy farmer with a bit of a military career. And Zorro's mother, who we've never really heard all that much about, is revealed to be a Indian, or Native American rather, warrior woman. She is fighting Alejandro de la Vega in a siege of the town, and he and his men fight back her assault, her and her people's assault, but she's injured in the assault, and he nurses her back to health, and they fall in love, and they get married and start a family together, and so and that's just how Zorro comes from these two worlds, the old world and the new. And I really, really like that retcon, or that new origin, whatever you want to call it. For me, I'd do it slightly differently because I have a very particular vision of what I personally would like to see with Zorro. And I do maybe even what this might sound odd, a little bit of a fairy tale kind of thing with him, that being an evil stepmother. But I love the idea that Zorro is not just like what I like about that origin is it takes away the white savior narrative. The white savior isn't an inherently evil concept, but it's kind of like the well-meaning liberalism. It's one of the early versions of well-meaning liberalism where it's like your heart's in the right place, but you're still hung up on a bunch of bullshit that you've been taught. So yeah, it's great that you're having a character identify with a people and decide to fight with them. The problem is often that you have this character who comes from an imperialist background, identify with a oppressed people and join them, and it's because of him, it's because the white man has joined their fight that they're able to win, because before they were incompetent, but now they are strong and guided and have discipline because the white man is bringing those feats. And that's just bullshit. Indian raids were fucking complicated, guys. Anyway, so to take the narrative of the white savior away by making Diego's mother Native American, I think is an absolutely brilliant and really, really profound and just should be that way kind of choice. So that is by far the strongest thing about this book and the thing I like the most about it. That being said, that's the very beginning of the book. So before I get into negatives, I want to talk about the other thing that I really, really like, because we've never seen Zorro's mother in practically anything. Most of the time, Diego de la Vega's mother is in a lot of in the same way as a lot of Disney princesses is just gone. Zorro's the original Disney prince, in my opinion, the only Disney prince. No, but like Zorro's mother's never around in anything, and so she's also written out of this. And I really like what they do. So they introduced Bernardo as well, who, if you don't know, Bernardo is basically Zorro's Alfred in a lot of things. He's often seen, helping Zorro with his schemes, tending to Tornado, helping Diego recover when he gets wounded, stuff like that. Occasionally he takes on more of like a proper sidekick Robin role, like the new animated series, The Chronicles of Zorro, kind of puts him in that light. But anyway, so Diego and Bernardo are raised together, and they're called Milk Brothers because they nursed from the same wet nurse, which is an interesting enough idea. And I believe the wet nurse is Bernardo's mother. Things are little. It's weird to look back on things, but how to put this? So Bernardo and Diego are basically brothers growing up. And one night, the De La Vega Hacienda is raided by pirates. Pirates come ashore and enter the lands around Los Angeles and raid the De La Vega house, which is, you're conflating a couple things historically, Isabel Allende, but I'm willing to give it a pass. There were pirates, yeah, sure. They didn't do a ton of land raiding, but it's believable enough. So anyway, so the pirates come ashore and they raid the De La Vega Hacienda, and I absolutely adore this detail that they add, wherein Diego's mother goes and fights the pirates because she's still very much a warrior woman, but she dies fighting. And Bernardo's mother tries to hide him and manages to hide him under her bed. And she says to him, "Don't say a word." Right as the pirates break into their room and hold her down, and Bernardo has to witness his mother being raped and murdered by pirates. And the last thing she ever says to him is, "Don't say a word." And he's mute for the rest of his life. And that is tragic as fuck. And it's just, of course, a trauma like that could do that to a child. So I really, really like that detail. I think it gives Bernardo a lot of depth, a lot of character, and it takes something that was, really interesting and kind of neat little gimmick for a character who's, mute but pretends to be deaf as well, and adds this other dimension to it where it's like, oh wow, that's got a lot of pathos behind it. That feels like, more of like a proper superhero kind of origin moment. So those are the two things that I absolutely adore about Isabel Allende's Zorro novel. Now here's the stuff that I really, really don't like. First and foremost, never truly happens. You do not get Zorro in this book, not properly. Like, it's called Zorro, and so you expect kind of like a Batman Begins. Imagine if Batman Begins was just Bruce Wayne training and meeting Ra's al Ghul and all that stuff, and then ended like the night he takes out Carmine Falcone. Right? Like, that is a really, really hard thing for me to get behind. Like, he's Zorro for about 10 seconds at the end of this book. Zorro Fan Production says, I think Diego's mom does not die in this version. I'm pretty sure she does. I know his grandmother survives. So that might be who you're thinking of. To be fair, it has been a while since I read this. I am doing this mainly on memory, but I am reasonably sure that Zorro's mother dies in this version, as well as the Matt Wagner version, which I'm going to get to eventually. So again, I really like that turn, though, of Zorro and Bernardo's mothers die on the same night kind of thing. But anyway, so I really like this picture of Isabel Allende as in a Zorro getup. That's kind of fun. But anyway, so yeah, if you imagine Batman Begins, where like it's over the night Batman takes out Carmine Falcone, that's kind of what this book is. You spend an abhorrently long amount of time in the least interesting period of Zorro's life, of Diego's life, which is him in Spain. There is so much of this book that is Zorro and Bernardo dicking around in Spain. And I mean, it's kind of fun from time to time. There's a whole thing where like they kind of learn some Bernardo learns sleight of hand and magic from the Romani. They call him Gypsy in the book, but the proper term is of course Romani. And Diego learns acrobatics from them. And so, yeah, that they were a traveling people and they had to do, street performance to survive. And so, of course, yeah, that was one of the things. It makes sense. It's a cool little twist on the whole origin thing of how Zorro manages to do all his flips and tightrope walking and rooftop sneaking and stuff. So I like that. There's other little things, like I like Zorro's fencing instruction, and some of the stuff with the family he's staying with is kind of interesting, but it just feels like it really feels, especially with all the relationship stuff with Diego being really interested in this girl whose name escapes me at the moment, but it's the girl of the family he's staying with. He's really interested in her and keeps trying to, pursue her romantically, but she doesn't have the same interest in him. That whole thing gets really tired. Zorro has a relationship, Diego has a relationship with an older Romani woman. I don't like that. It feels weird. Like a just purely sexual relationship. I just don't like that. It really feels like the meat of this book is a Harlequin novel, and I just don't want. That's not the kind of thing I'm interested in reading with Zorro. Dr. Holocron says maybe this novel should have been called Diego instead of Zorro. That might have been a better fit, but that is nowhere near as marketable, and we both know it. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, so much of this novel is just Diego's time in Spain and Diego growing up, and there's like. The stuff with Diego growing up, I kind of liked. Like, there's a whole section where he takes out a bear Like there's a bear coming near town and he traps a bear as a child, and that's really cool. That's got like that mythic Western kind of quality to it. I like that. And then when he finally gets back to California and things start up, it kind of gets interesting. But again, it's over in a second by the time he gets back, and that's just disappointing. And there's a scene, there's like a chapter or two where he starts going out at night and as Zorro and in Spain, and he joins a tradition that goes back to the Spanish Inquisition of people that fight for justice against or for the oppressed, and that's fine. Again, it feels very League of Shadows, Batman Begins, but it's fine. It's not Zorro, and so it's a little disappointing. Which brings me to this. So Zorro Fan Productions, the girl is Juliana. Thank you. The girl Diego wants is named Juliana. But that brings me to this. Zorro Fan Productions asked, which do I prefer, Isabel Allende's novel or Zorro, the Year One Trial of the Fox? Now, the interesting thing about Year One Trial of the Fox is the writing credits on it are for, well, maybe not. I swear this used to be in there. Maybe I'm thinking of a different version. But regardless, the writing credits on this should be to Matt Wagner and Isabel Allende. Trial of the Fox adapts the parts of this that I really like, but it actually gives you proper Zorro by the end of it. That's the thing that this does really well and why I like it better. It gives you a lot of action and stuff too, which is cool. But again, the thing that really makes this work for me is the fact that it gives you proper Zorro. It does a very Nolan-esque thing, and I've done a whole review on Trade Talk of Year One Trial of the Fox, and I would definitely recommend this to people. But it's just a much better Zorro story because it actually feels like it's about Zorro. It does a lot of narrative jumping and structures, Zorro's first days as Zorro with Diego's first days that led him on the path to becoming Zorro. So I really like that stuff. Very Batman Begins Nolan-esque in that, non-linear storytelling kind of thing. But it's just a much better thing because it gives you more proper Zorro, and that's why I really like it a lot more than the Isabel Allende novel, which has great ideas in it, but doesn't feel like a Zorro story by the end of the day. So that's why I feel that Year One Trial of the Fox is a much better story. That's crazy to me. I swear I thought Matt Wagner and Isabel Allende got credited for this. Writer Matt Wagner, artist Francisco Francavilla, colorist Adriano Lucas, letterer Simon, collection designer. Special thanks to, maybe it's on the Amazon page or something that we give some credit to Isabel Allende. Because it's because of the popularity of her novel that this got a run. But I don't know. I do like, however, that her what is it? I do like the origin that she gives to Diego really has stuck, though. It really starts to come back and be a thing for Zorro now. That's the fact that his mother was Native American, or fact that his mother was Native American is now a part of the character and has been adapted to multiple things like comic books. It was in the latest television series. So I really like that. That's really cool. But otherwise, I don't have a ton else to say about this. If you like the more typical kind of romantic adventure teen kind of stuff, you might like this more. But ultimately, if you're looking for a good Zorro story that deals with why Diego becomes Zorro, I'm going to recommend Year One Trial of the Fox because it has all the good in here, and then it has proper Zorro in it, which really goes a long way for me. So everyone, thanks for watching this episode of Trade Talk, even though we weren't really talking about a trade through most of it. Hope you don't mind. And hey, there's not a ton of Zorro out there, so you'll probably, if you're on a Zorro kick like I've been, or like I was when I bought this, you're eventually going to get to this, so you might as well read it. Okay, that'll do it though for this episode of Trade Talk. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye.
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.